Quarterbacks sure do get a lot of attention, and in some cases, maybe a little too much for what they're putting out.
But the rocket was my idea. But asking you was Ralph's idea.
You're the man, Ralph.
But surely I deserve some credit for
Ralph!
Quarterback has always been, by far, the most popular, most recognizable position in all of football. So with QBs getting so much of the attention, it only makes sense that a bunch of them might end up being overrated to a certain degree. So, who's the most overrated QB in your favorite team's history? Well, let's find out. Arizona Cardinals, Carson Palmer. Palmer helped the Cardinals achieve 3 straight winning seasons from 2013 to 2015, including a trip to the NFC Championship game in the latter year. But a lot of that had to do with head coach Bruce Arians and a stacked group of offensive weapons around him. The 3-time Pro Bowler was a turnover machine though, and he salvaged just 1 career playoff win. Atlanta Falcons, Chris Chandler. Chandler was the Falcons quarterback when they made the unexpected run to Super Bowl 33 in the 1998 season. But don't let that or his 2 Pro Bowl selections overshadow the fact that he was merely an above-average quarterback with just a 34-33 record as the Falcons starter. Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco. One magical run to Super Bowl 47 created Flacco's overrated label. Yes, he was magnificent in the 4 postseason games with 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. And yes, he usually played his best football in January. But come on, he never threw for more than 27 touchdowns in a season. And he had 0 Pro Bowl selections. Buffalo Bills, Doug Flutie. Flutie's legendary career in the CFL probably made him a little overhyped in the NFL. He enjoyed a 3-year tenure with the Buffalo Bills from 1998 to 2000, earning Pro Bowl honors in the first year with the team. But Flutie had a tremendous supporting cast to help him shine, and he only completed 56.3% of pass attempts in his 3 years as a Bill. Carolina Panthers, Kerry Collins. Collins helped the Panthers reach the 1996 NFC Championship game in just their 2nd year of existence. But let's be real, the man really wasn't that great. His best years by far were as a Giant. And as a Panther, he had 47 touchdowns against 54 interceptions while completing just 51.8% of his passes. Chicago Bears, Jim McMahon. With a strong, outgoing personality, the media darling was kind of like an 80s version of Johnny Manziel. McMahon was overhyped entering the NFL, but he joined a good situation in Chicago, led by Walter Payton and the best defense of all time. Yes, McMahon was the Bears quarterback for their 1985 Super Bowl championship season, but that team probably could have won with me as their quarterback. Cincinnati Bengals, Boomer Esiason. Yes, he won the 1988 MVP award and led the Bengals to a Super Bowl 23 appearance, but the popular CBS analyst threw a whopping 131 interceptions as a Bengal, and he went just 62-61 as the team starter for 10 years. Cleveland Browns, Bernie Kosar. Kosar led the Browns to 3 AFC Championship appearances over a 4-year span from 1986 to 89. But statistically speaking, Kosar wasn't as big of a star as you might think. Kosar never had 4,000 passing yards in a season. In fact, he only came close once. His career high in TDs was 22. He was more of a game manager on a well-built Cleveland team, and not so much the reason they had success in the 80s. Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo. A lot of folks put Romo in the underrated or underappreciated categories, but an argument can be made for the opposite as well. Romo put up the fancy numbers, but he was also blessed with an incredibly strong supporting cast, including one of the best offensive lines ever. Still, he only won 2 playoff games and consistently underperformed in big games. Denver Broncos, Jake Plummer. Yes, the one-time Pro Bowler took the Broncos to the playoffs 3 years in a row, including a trip to the 2005 AFC Championship game. But in his career, Plummer only hit 20 touchdowns and 4,000 passing yards once. He threw a large number of interceptions and benefited greatly from Mike Shanahan's rush-heavy offense. He eventually lost his job to Jay Cutler in 2006. Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford. Stafford wasn't the problem by any means in Detroit, but at some point, the quarterback needs to take some of the blame. This guy never won a single postseason game in Motown, even with guys like Calvin Johnson, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, and Golden Tate to throw the ball to. Green Bay Packers, Lynn Dickey. we'll be honest, we're kind of nitpicking here. I mean, this franchise had Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and now Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud. That said, Lynn Dickey is a bit overrated thanks to a career year in 1983 when he led the NFL in passing yards with 4,458 and in touchdowns with 32. Dickey had a losing record as Green Bay's starter and threw 133 touchdowns against 151 picks. Houston Texans, Matt Schaub. A two-time Pro Bowler, Matt Schaub led the NFL in passing yards in 2009 with 4,770, and though he was there to help them win consecutive AFC South Division titles in 2011 and 2012, let's be honest. Andre Johnson, Arian Foster, and the stingy defense did the bulk of the work there.
This can't be happening. It's a nightmare for him. 4 pick sixes on 4 successive games.
Indianapolis Colts, Jeff George. The first overall pick from 1990 flopped in Indianapolis. George never tossed more than 16 touchdowns in a season with the Colts. He won just 14 of 49 starts there. Don't let his strong performances with the Falcons and Raiders fool you. He was not impactful at all in Indy. Jacksonville Jaguars, Blake Bortles. Bortles had one good statistical year in 2015, followed by a trip to the 2017 AFC Championship game. But please, do not be fooled. He was complemented by a powerful rushing game and that ferocious Saxonville defense. Bortles really held the Jaguars back despite so much talent on both sides of the ball. Kansas City Chiefs, Trent Green. Green earned 2 Pro Bowl nods with the Chiefs, and he got them into the playoffs in 2003 and 2006. But most of the credit should probably go to Priest Holmes, Tony Gonzalez, and a stacked O-line. He failed to help them win a single playoff game despite all that talent at his disposal. Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr. Carr's numbers are solid all around, but his inconsistency and the fact he's only taken the Raiders to the playoffs once speaks great volume. Take away the MVP caliber 2016 season that sadly ended with a fractured fibula, and what has he really done? Los Angeles Chargers, John Hadl. Hadl was on a dominant 60s Chargers squad that won the AFL Championship in 1963. Despite his incredible resume, however, you can easily argue that he benefited from being in the right system with so many great players. As a Charger, Hadl had more interceptions at 211 than touchdowns at 201. He only completed 50.1% of his passes too. Hadl struggled during brief stints with both the Packers and Houston, suggesting maybe he was really just a system quarterback in San Diego. Los Angeles Rams, Mark Bulger. Bulger succeeded an injury-prone Kurt Warner in St. Louis and enjoyed 2 Pro Bowl seasons as a Ram. He also had the luxury of playing with Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt though. For as good as his passing numbers were, Bulger also tossed 122 interceptions in only 96 games. Miami Dolphins, Bob Griese. He may be a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and a Hall of Famer, and yes, he may have been on that undefeated 1972 Dolphins team, but folks, Griese got to play with the legendary Don Shula, who succeeded with several different quarterbacks. Not to mention, the 70s Dolphins were loaded with superstars and future Hall of Famers. Griese's numbers weren't exactly eye-popping, and he had 172 career INTs in just 161 games. Minnesota Vikings, Daunte Culpepper. Playing with Chris Carter and Randy Moss sure helped Culpepper look good, but aside from that monster 2004 season that saw him throw for 4,717 yards and 39 touchdowns, he wasn't as great as many think. I mean, we all saw him flop in Miami, Oakland, and Detroit. Clearly, throwing to a pair of Hall of Fame receivers helped Culpepper produce at a high level during his time in Mini. New England Patriots, Matt Castle. Tom Brady tore his ACL in Week 1 of the 2008 season, which forced Bill Belichick to start Castle. Castle helped New England win 11 games, though they did miss the playoffs. However, Castle struggled for the most part in his 4 seasons with the Chiefs, and he spent the second half of his career as a backup. Clearly, that breakout season in New England was nothing more than an outlier. New Orleans Saints, Jim Everett. Everett's best years came with the LA Rams. He led the league in passing touchdowns twice and earned a Pro Bowl nod in 1990, but it was a different story during his time in New Orleans. Everett only won 17 of 47 starts in his 3 seasons with the Saints. Sure, he was better than most of the Saints' previous QBs at the time, but anyone who's familiar with the Saints of that era know that that's not saying much. New York Giants, Phil Simms. Sim's longevity made his numbers look much better than they actually were. But aside from 2 Pro Bowl selections and 1 first-team All-Pro nod, he was merely average. Yes, he has 2 Super Bowl rings, but backup Jeff Hostetler started in place of the injured Sims for the second one, and the G-men were mostly carried by Lawrence Taylor and that defense. New York Jets, Joe Namath. Okay, so he made the guarantee and led the Jets to a Super Bowl III victory over the 18-point favorite Baltimore Colts. But take away that career-defining night from Broadway Joe, and the rest is just kind of meh. He went 60-61-4 as the Jets starter with 170 touchdowns against 215 interceptions. And he had just 1 Pro Bowl season. Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz. This isn't recency bias. Wentz simply wasn't able to carry the Eagles the way understudy Nick Foles did when he led the team to a Super Bowl 53 championship. That 2017 MVP caliber season feels like a lifetime ago. Wentz just couldn't elevate his team the way a true elite quarterback can. But hey, let's see if that storyline changes in Indy. Pittsburgh Steelers, Neil O'Donnell. The one-time Pro Bowler was the Steelers quarterback when they advanced to Super Bowl 30 before losing to the Dallas Cowboys. But hey, newsflash, head coach Bill Cowher made a lot of quarterbacks good during his tenure in Pittsburgh. O'Donnell looked good thanks to a powerful rushing game and a stingy defense. O'Donnell was a massive flop when he left for the Jets in 1996 free agency, further showing that he probably was just a system quarterback. San Francisco 49ers, Alex Smith. The Kansas City and Washington football team version of Smith is not overrated at all. This is strictly the 49ers version of Smith we're talking about here. The first overall pick from 2005 was a massive bust in each of his first 5 seasons. Then Jim Harbaugh arrived in 2011. Smith morphed into a quality game manager, and thanks to an elite defense and running back Frank Gore, he managed to win 13 games en route to an NFC Championship appearance. However, Smith lost his starting job to Colin Kaepernick in the midst of the 2012 season, so he really only had 1 good season with the Niners, even though it feels like a lot more. The Seattle Seahawks, Jim Zorn. Zorn was the Seahawks' first ever quarterback, winning the starting duties in their inaugural 1976 season. He spent 9 seasons there and formed strong chemistry with Hall of Fame wideout Steve Largent. So Zorn has a pretty good reputation in the Emerald City. With that said, the guy really wasn't anything special. Zorn had 107 touchdowns against 133 interceptions in Seattle. Nothing to write home about. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brad Johnson. Johnson was the Bucs quarterback in their 2002 Super Bowl season. But come on, we all know it was that star-studded defense that won them the Lombardi Trophy. As a Buccaneer, Johnson never hit 4,000 yards, nor did he top 26 touchdown passes in a season. He went a mere 26-23 in his 4 years as a starter there. Nothing special. Tennessee Titans, Vince Young. 2 Pro Bowl nods, 2006 Offensive Rookie of the Year, and 2009 Comeback Player of the Year honors. At first glance, Young was a true franchise quarterback in Tennessee, right? Well, not exactly. His stats honestly were very pedestrian. Though he won 30 of 47 starts, Young only had 8,098 total passing yards and 42 touchdowns against 42 interceptions in 5 years there. And superstar running back Chris Johnson made Young's job a whole lot easier. Young's numbers were hardly spectacular, and he only lasted 6 seasons in the NFL. Washington football team, Mark Ripon. Not to take anything away from Ripon, but you know, the Joe Gibbs-led Washington dynasty won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different starting quarterbacks. His numbers were honestly never really eye-popping, failing to reach the 4,000-yard and 30-touchdown mark at any point of his career. He simply did his job as a game manager, nothing more. But hey, who do you think is the most overrated quarterback in your favorite NFL team's history? Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.